There was a man.
He went to San Francisco by himself when he was young. He was imprisoned 3 times, had 4 wives in different periods, became a hero 5 times, and won court cases 6 times. He had 8 sons, more than 40 grandsons and granddaughters. The man settled down in North America and lived up to 100 years old before he passed away peacefully, surrounded by his extended family and offsprings. Please welcome the 8 young Chinese Americans who will tell this heroic tale.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TangMen. I'm Maggie, I'm 15 and I'm from Massachusetts, and today I will be sharing the story with you. The founder of the Central Pacific Railroad, Federal Senator Leland Stanford, was throwing a birthday party for his son in his mansion. The couple had been married for 18 years and had only 1 son. When the Central Pacific Railway Company was established, the 4 directors only put together a $160,000 starting capital. As the largest shareholder, Stanford made a fortune and became the richest man in the United States. Adolf didn't bring his family to the birthday party. He said that his family was about to move to the East Coast since his wife Maria was worn out with age and his son was getting more and more autistic. There were over 100 guests at the birthday banquet, and Mrs. Stanford temporarily hired many helpers to aid the chefs. Lawyer Williams suggested bringing the chefs of TangMen. He was obsessed with their 3 yellow chicken, 5 flavored goose, and Taishan eel rice. The Gimao brothers were invited and were a sensation at the banquet. Yunlong's Taishan dishes tasted delicious, and to everyone's awe, Gimao even brought out a dragon carved with carrots from the back kitchen. Little Leland Stanford exclaimed in wonder at the appearance of this dragon, and the guests were all exclaiming, "Fantastic! Magic, how did you make it?" Gimao explained it as if it were easy. I simply cut the carrot diagonally into 3 sections, the middle section into 4 pieces, and then pasted the round sections at both ends together with egg whites. That formed the twisting and widening of the dragon's body. Next, I carved the dragon's mouth, took out one of the 4 pieces, and connected it to the back of the dragon's body to make the dragon's tail. The other 2 sections were etched into the sides of the dragon's body. I carved the last piece into the feet, and then connected the 2 feet with the dragon's body, and the dragon was done. Ginlong explains, according to the Chinese zodiacs, little Leland Stanford was born in the year of the dragon, so my brother came up with this special gift, wishing him a happy birthday. Gimao, what is your zodiac sign? Gimao said that it was a snake, and joked that a snake was also a dragon, just smaller in size. What kind of animal is a dragon? A question from the crowd. It is a legend. No one has seen it, but it's imagined to be a big bird that can fly. Gimao thought of the story of a fish that turned into a bird. By the end of the party, Williams was so drunk that he staggered and stumbled to walk. Yunlong was worried about his safety, so he offered to send him home. After the door guard opened the door for Williams, Yunlong politely said goodbye. Who said you could go? Williams said. Since you are already at my home, why don't you be my servant? Yunlong refused, but without arrogance. Mr. Williams, he said, you have drunk too much. Please take a rest. The TangMen is still waiting for me. And Yunlong turned away. The next day, Williams showed up at TangMen. Yunlong greeted him courteously and made his favorite dish, the 3 yellow chicken. After Williams enjoyed the meal, he asked Yunlong, have you made your decision to be a servant at my home? I need a helper. I will cover your food and board. I just want to enjoy Chinese food often. Yunlong said with a smile, so that wasn't all drunk talk? You were asking seriously? Williams was angry. I drink all the time except when I'm working on the lawsuits. Do you think I'm talking nonsense all the time? Thank you for liking Taishan cuisine, but I can't leave TangMen. I'm deciding for you, you will go. Gimao happened to come back from shopping for supplies and promised Williams with a smile. Mr. Williams, please wait for him to pack. I encourage him to go with you. This is a great opportunity. Why not take it? The Transcontinental Railroad was complete. However, the living standards of the immigrants in California did not improve as expected. Allen worked at a brewery factory run by his brothers. He was married to an Irish woman and had a son. Thinking he deserved more, Allen was not happy about still having to work so hard to earn a living. He hated the capitalists who got rich by only investing in railway construction. He hated the Chinese immigrants who lived silently in Chinatown every day, never complaining about anything. This hatred grew when he heard that Stanford's attitude toward the Chinese immigrants had gotten better, and when the Chinese were even being praised in public. Jealous and irritated, she shouted the slogan, "Make the Chinese go back to China," on some public occasions. After listening to his speech, many of the white laborers started to believe that it was indeed the Chinese workers who robbed them of their jobs. In the end, Allen came forward to found the Anti-Coolie Association. In the name of this organization, he contacted politicians and successfully instituted health regulations specifically targeting Chinese people in Xinjiang to exclude Chinese people. He used the poor sanitation conditions in Chinese residential areas as an excuse, saying that it was causing infectious diseases and affecting the city's appearance, which is in urgent need of rectification. This law required that each residential room had to have at least 500 cubic feet of space, and landlords and occupants who violated the rules would receive fines ranging from $10 to $500 and imprisonment for 5 to 90 days. In market competition with the Dutch-German brewery that came a decade earlier, Allen named United Irish Railway Workers and the Poor to form a loose labor party and often gave speeches for their rights. Allen became the spokesman for the white workers and fiercely criticized the businessmen and capitalists who became rich by only investing in railway construction. He felt that he had a disadvantage with the blessing. It was the workers who built the railway, but why were they still poor? His appeal won him huge support from the workers. However, he also called on the Labor Party to drive out the Chinese workers. He continued to organize laborers to march on the streets for his stance. That year, 4 million black slaves were freed. US legislation allowed them to naturalize and exercise the right to vote. At the same time, a congressman named Sumner in Boston proposed that all ethnic groups should be able to naturalize, and there should not be any special restriction on any ethnic group. This was really good news. If the proposal were passed, nearly 100,000 Chinese people in the United States could be naturalized. Communities of the whites were in an uproar, and Allen was furious when he heard it. He quickly convened the anti-coolie associations in the West Coast and promptly contacted the Arlen Fellows on the East Coast by telegraph, in any case, to prevent Senator Sumner's proposal from passing. The business of TangMen was booming. One day, policemen unexpectedly showed up and arrested the owner of TangMen, Mao. The reason being a violation of Xinjiang City's sanitation regulations, that 4 men lived in a space of less than 500 cubic feet. Mao was taken away by law enforcement. The court sentenced him to either pay a $10 fine or spend 5 days in jail. Mao chose to be imprisoned. Mao came to the jail cell, which is filled with Chinese people who were also arrested for the same reason. Without money, their only option was to go to jail. Mao and many others were forced by the prison authorities to cut off their braids and shave their heads. The reason that these braid regulations were introduced into prisons was to prevent lice and flea outbreaks. Mao refused and debated with the officers. "This is my braid, my feelings, and my power. This cannot be violated." The noise called attention to the chair. Mao was surprised. Wasn't this the construction lead Adolf? After the railway construction work was done, Adolf turned his canvas shop into a jean shop. He handed over the store to his wife and founded a 5-car transportation company, monopolizing the business of delivering goods throughout the city. His business was not bad, but he felt that he was boring to be a small business owner and hoped to gain more social prestige. So, he signed up as a volunteer with the Jinshan City Fire Department and was soon selected as the deputy captain of the California National Guard. This change in career made him interested in politics. He represented Democratic candidates and participated in the election campaign. His experience of successfully managing nearly 20,000 railway workers during the construction of the railway made him a great leader. Adolf finally got the position of sheriff for a 2-year term with an annual salary of $8,000. He liked this new lifestyle, so he deliberately changed his social class by wearing a pair of golden-rimmed glasses to look more like a person in the upper class. Enforcing grade regulations fell, of course, onto Sheriff Adolf. Gimao was not happy. Why did you have to cut off my braid? He thought. According to Chinese religious belief, cutting off his braid would cause him to be punished by divine retribution after death. Gimao was released after 5 days in prison, but he couldn't swallow it. He set up a banquet in TangMen, invited several leaders of major associations and clans in Chinatown, and he said, I want to sue Jinshan's Sheriff Adolf in the federal court for cutting off my braid. Master Hong first stated, we're willing to take the lead in donating $500 as your lawyer fee. Gimao thanked him, and Master Hong said, you're welcome. We believe justice is the most important. Following Master Hong, the leaders of other associations showed their support one after another. They donated $100, $200, $300. The fees for Gimmao's lawsuit was immediately collected. Gimao submitted his brother's statements and lawyer's fees to Attorney Williams. The old man hadn't finished drinking. He squinted and said disturbingly, Ginlong, this is not about money. If I defend the Chinese, I will make many enemies, and they will try to kill me with guns. Then, if a righteous person like you won't help us, who will? Don't think that just because you are a cook for me, I will take all the risks to help the Chinese in a lawsuit. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. It is serious if it costs your life. I will persuade my brother to withdraw the lawsuit. Not yet. Let me see what's going on first. Gimao wrote in the statements. I was sentenced to prison because I lived in a space of less than 500 cubic feet. But I and many Chinese people were locked in a 100 cubic foot prison. Wouldn't this also violate the sanitation regulations? Where's the axiom? Well, the logic is really clear then. Cook some 3-yellow chicken for me. I'm going to work. A Supreme Court justice held a hearing on this case. The defendant, Sheriff Adolf, defended twice. He asserted himself eloquently. I'm just enforcing the law. What's wrong with that? I enforce the braid regulations, which are within the scope of a sheriff's duty and power. The plaintiff's lawyer, Williams, in a neat seriousness, retorted, Mr. Sheriff, I think you are overstepping with authority. Here are 4 objections listed to support my argument. All those who attended the hearing pricked up their ears to hear the plaintiff's lawyer's arguments. First, if the regulations only consider the intention of health supervision, then it should apply to all people, women or men. However, it is commonly known that the regulations were purposely put in place to target the Chinese community. Second, does the country or the government have the right to regulate the hairstyles of individuals outside of prison? If not, the prison, being an integral part of the state, should not have the right to interfere with the hairstyles of prisoners. Third, the hairstyle of an individual, whether standard or different, does not interfere with the life of the community, nor does it interfere with the freedom of others. If it is illegal for men to have long braids, would it also be illegal for women to have braids or curly hair, and for men to have beards? The defendant forcibly cut the prisoner's braids, which is a violation of their private rights. Fourth, coercive measures like cutting off a braid in prisons are for felons, not for misdemeanors. Gimao committed a misdemeanor, not a felony. The courtroom was in an uproar. Gimao thanked Williams for his righteous word. Adolf was stunned, speechless, embarrassed, and shy. Alan in the audience was furious. But the lawyer's speech was not over yet. He pointedly continued. This regulation seems to be untargeted, but was a humiliating punishment against the Chinese residents' misdemeanor, simply because they are foreigners. In short, this kind of degrading punishment is a special piece of legislation aimed at a single group of Chinese residents. Therefore, the Pigtail Ordinance deviates from the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution and does not conform the principle of equality for all. The crowd awaited the judge's decision, and the judge calmly ruled Pigtail Ordinance, such a discriminatory law, and the ordinance was unconstitutional. Although Gimao felt that he was justified, he was unsure. It was only his first lawsuit in the United States, but he won the case. Adolf followed him quickly and asked Gimao, "You are trying so hard to sue me for a braid. I just want to know, why do Chinese men keep braids?" Gimao stammered and said, "In fact, I'm not sure why. I believe it is because the Qing dynasty government, forced men to keep braids for better management, and one was beheaded if they didn't have a braid. So, for us, cutting off our braids would be the same as cutting off our heads." Adolf stroked his mustache, shook his head, and said, "Turns out that it does have something to do with one's life. No wonder you don't let people cut it." Lawyer Williams proudly walked out of the courtroom, and reporters followed him, questioning his motivation. "Why did you help the Chinese in a lawsuit? And how much do they give you in favor?" It turned out that Gimma received a huge compensation of 10,000 US dollars, an astronomical number for him, equaling the amount he could earn by working for 30 years. A small prisoner in the district defeated the dignified sheriff. Chinese communities cheered for the success. Gimao suddenly became a hero in Chinatown, and his name quickly spread from west to east. According to the rules of his hometown, Li Gimao kept the braids cut off by Adolf and would take them to his tomb. He gave a feast at TangMen again, thanking the associations and the clan leaders who raised funds for his lawsuit. He toasted to Master Hong, thanked him for his loyalty of being the first to stand up and support his lawsuit. Then, one by one, he toasted to the other leaders of the associations. Gimao returned all the donors with doubling the amount from their initial donation to the fundraising for the lawsuit. After all the expenses, Gimao still had half of the compensation left. During the banquet, Master Hong sincerely invited Gimao. "You have restored the prestige of the Chinese in this fight. You should also join the Hongge. We're the descendants of an emperor of the Ming dynasty, Zhu Yuanzhang, who was named Hongwu. It is our important task to fight against the Qing dynasty and restore the Ming dynasty." Gimao was a little embarrassed to say, "I am a descendant of the Li Shunmi in the Tang dynasty. Our Li family also dreams of returning to the Tang dynasty." Gimao and Master Hong didn't see eye to eye, but it didn't prevent them from becoming friends. Gimao's victory angered the anti-Puli associations, who hated to see the influence of the Chinese rising. They denounced the Supreme Court's decision, calling the judge of being sick and absurd. Allen summoned representatives of the Labor Party to protest at the gate of Lawyer Williams' manor. Allen angrily pointed the conflict directly at Williams, exposing, "What a terrible liar! He is a capitalist who makes a fortune by sucking the blood and sweat of the railway workers. It is his perversion and corruption that makes him prejudiced in the favor of the foreigners. His family keeps a group of men with braids. Some massage his back, some beat his legs, some cook for him, and the black pot might be cooking mice. A few years ago, he even went to court to allow a group of foreign women with obvious taint to stay in Chinatown and insult our civilization. We must record the 2 big bills he owed us." The protesters followed Allen and shouted slogans. Against Williams defending foreigners, against hiring foreigners, protecting the rights of Americans. Williams was holding his walking cane and yelled to the protesters to get out of their way. Otherwise, he would call the police for trespassing. He laughed at Allen, saying, "You too are so ignorant. You pretend to be a great political party, you go to the streets and shout slogans without even looking at your own identity. 200 years ago, my parents came to Boston on the Mayflower. If the Chinese are foreigners, then you, Ellen, are also a foreigner and also a foreign instigator. What right do you have to be on equal footing for us and point fingers at Beijing's social policies? At this time, some of the demonstrators stood up and pointed at Williams of the third bill. As a resident of the city of Auckland, we remind you to revise the waterfront sovereignty agreement quickly, or you will take action. So what? Williams responded. Didn't you already sue me? You can't win the case. Our family has 40 years of development rights to Auckland's waterfront, which was approved by the government 18 years ago when I developed the city. You took advantage of the fact that we don't understand the law, you greedy, shameless devil. You took the public right out of the seaside without our awareness. Go back to your East Coast. You bastards, Williams yelled back. See you in court. After all, the demonstrators were not the opponents of the senior lawyer. They left angrily, but also left cruel words. If you continue to hire Chinese, wait for bullets. Williams was furious. He threw things in the house like a trapped beast and took out a bottle of wine. The servants were too frightened to say a word. A servant brought him tea and he knocked it over. You idiots are all the same. I can tell by looking in your eyes your heart is not here. You just want to make money here, you want to send money home, and then go back to China to enjoy it. Never think about building this community. You just want to take it away, don't want to invest. Yes, those Irish and Jewish laborers might not be as hardworking as you are, but when they came, they never thought about leaving. They regard themselves as the owners. You are just a group of outsiders. People, why are there no expressions on your faces? Why? You outsiders, get out, get out. Genlong brought him a dish of $3 chicken, but William scolded him loudly. Did you hear what I said? Go away from me, and you, go away. The servants quickly packed up and left, and Genlong said softly, well, you invited me to come, I came here. Now I have done my courtesy, I will resign. Gentlemen are not worried of being afraid. Genlong picked up his small suitcase and turned away. Williams drank alone until the second half of the night, unaware there was a fire around the house. When the crackling of the fire grew louder and louder, he ran outside the house in a panic and slumped under the soft oak tree. He stared at the burning house and said to himself, I have been in Xinjiang for more than 20 years. Now I've become an unwelcome person. Should I really leave? A man rushed into the kitchen, pulled out the water pipes, turned on the tap, and tried to put out the fire. Seeing this, Williams quickly stepped up to help. Fortunately, only one room was burned down. When they were all sunk into the ground, the lawyer recognized the young man with his face covered in ashes. It was Genlong. You? Didn't you go? Attorney, I'm just back to help you through this difficult time. I, a nobleman, in need of the help of a Chinese servant? Are you trying to steal something out of here on the way? Attorney, you are in trouble now. A gentleman is someone who helps others to accomplish good rather than ill. Fortunately, you weren't hurt. Now, I'll help you to clean up a room, give you a place to sleep, and I'll leave. I still don't understand. Why did you come back? Confucius said that gentlemen should constantly seek righteousness above else. Zima responded. You filed a lawsuit for my brother, and that has caused you a fire. I admire your integrity, and I am also grateful. When you are in trouble, I will repay virtue with virtue. Oh, so you know a lot. Following Confucius and being a person and doing things is a tradition in our family. This tradition has been passed down from generation to generation. Then we'll quickly settle the bedroom for the light. I'm leaving now. No, wait, there are still quite a few words in your mouth. Who is Confucius? He is the saint of the East, he responded. Can you tell me more about Confucius? Williams asked. Sorry, I don't have enough knowledge to explain about him. Sir, you're frightened today. Have a good rest. I'm leaving. No, why are you leaving? Since you're back, just stay. No, I still want to leave. Then I'll pay you twice as much. It's not about money. I just can't stand being criticized by you. Oh, if that's the case, then I won't scold you again. Do not scold anyone at any time. It hurts yourself and offends others. I swear, I will never scold you again, but I urge you to stay. Sir, as long as you don't scold people, I'd love to follow you and learn from you. Really? However, I can't stay in China anymore. If I go back to New York, can you come with me? I want to go back to the East Coast to retire. I'll discuss with my brother. Hey, TangMen is doing well. If you follow me, you might miss your chance to make big money. Ginlong said calmly, a gentleman seeks tall, not free. What does that mean? That is, what I seek is moral knowledge, not personal likelihood of being rich. Soon, Genlong followed the lawyer to the East Coast by train.